Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my line reaction to ReZero, Season 2, Episode 8. Last time we had a few things happen, the most notable of which is during the attack on the mansion by Elsa. After being pulled into the room by Beatrice, we got to learn a little more about Beatrice, or at least what she's saying. We don't know if it's true. But she claims that she has to follow the gospel, which is weird because she, to our knowledge, is not a witch cultist. So I'm curious about that. But she might be lying for some reason to hide her true intent. But she's also opening up a lot more emotionally. And we see that once Elsa breaks into the room and kills Subaru, we see how shocked and horrified she is. So I'm really hoping to get more on her character as we continue on. Because this is honestly the part of what's going on right now that fascinates me the most. Out of everything else that is currently happening in the series, that's what I want to see the most and what I want to know most about. Unfortunately, the less interesting plot is taking precedence, it seems. Back at the sanctuary, that's what it's called. Subaru ended up speaking to Garfiel and the short girl whose name I can never remember. But when he reveals he wants to take the test in place of Amelia still, they end up like knocking him out and holding him prisoner, unbeknownst to everyone else, in a separate part of the sanctuary. Believing that he's a witch cultist. And he's stuck there for a few days, not able to do anything until Otto saves him. And he realizes through their discussion that Otto is a friend, and despite like the way that he's seen Otto, the way that he's like thought about him and everything, he does consider Otto a friend. And that it's been his own stupidity and his own ignorance that has kept him from being able to understand that up to now. So presumably they're going to escape. They're going to escape, but the problem is that will probably end out in a fight if Gar and the girl end up realizing that they did so, or end up finding him and everything. But if he can get to Roswell and or Amelia or even Ram in time, he might be able to make it work. Though if anything happens to Otto, he might just end up dying to reset himself anyway, so we'll see how this goes. But yeah, I'm definitely vastly more interested in the mansion plot here. The sanctuary stuff, it's okay, but it's right now they're so focused on not continuing the trials that it's like it's kind of boring at the moment with the sanctuary, because that was the definite appeal of the sanctuary early into this season, getting to see these trials, getting to see like how all of that's going. But that's been put on hold for the moment, and they're just kind of twiddling their thumbs, and just Subaru is dealing with Gar and this girl now, and it's just like, can we not? Can we focus on some fun stuff, some interesting stuff? But either way, what we ended up getting with the mansion plot from what we've got, it just keeps going wrong. But as we know, Subaru tends to get better and better each time he goes through something, so hopefully on another try or two, he'll be able to master that and be able to defeat Elsa. Maybe. Um, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. I'm definitely interested though, so we are going to continue this and see what we've got in store. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades black, then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So we found out quite a bit in this episode. I'll try my best to go in order here. So after escaping from where Subaru was being held prisoner, he and Otto meet up with Ram, who we find out was working with Otto to rescue him, to rescue Subaru. He's led to where Roswaal is and has a conversation with him regarding a few things, but most notably Beatrice. He asks about that, and we find out that Beatrice is not a witch's cultist, which, again, I kind of assumed. Like, I don't think that would make much sense. But she does have this, what is basically a tome of knowledge, though it doesn't have any official name. And we find out that apparently that it's referred to, that she refers to it as a gospel, kind of naming it after the defective versions of it, which kind of implies that the gospels the witch cultists use are defective versions of the tome of knowledge. Again, just the term that Roswaal uses for Beatrice's book. So, see, I had been under the assumption that the witch's gospel was created by Satella, the Witch of Envy. That it was something that was given to all of the cultists in that regard. But if it's like a failed attempt at creating this tome of knowledge, that Beatrice has the actual successful real version of, or maybe recreating the tome of knowledge, maybe it technically doesn't have anything to do with the witch at all, and it's just that these cultists see it that way. It definitely brings up a lot of questions. But Roswaal also gave Subaru a password to say to Beatrice that would, I guess, get her to explain. But after leaving and all, our trio are planning to escape. They're planning to run and get out of there and get back to the mansion and all. But Garfield ends up finding them. And despite the trial going on, he prioritizes protecting the sanctuary, still believing that Subaru is dangerous. Though he admits he doesn't even know what Subaru is. Ram starts to fight Garfield, allowing Otto and Subaru to escape with Patrash. And Otto even calls in a bunch of others to help lead them to the barrier. But Garfield presumably defeats Ram, though we don't actually know, I guess, for sure. But the fact that we don't see her again at that point once he comes back in kind of leads to that assumption. He defeats and most likely kills Ram after turning into his monstrous beast form. And then he comes after them. And honestly, the funny thing is, if Subaru and Otto hadn't stopped to talk to that villager, they probably would have made it. But because they stopped for a notable length of time, it allowed it allowed Garfield to catch up with them. and eventually take them out. Because yeah, when Garfield caught up with them in his beast form, like destroying kind of everything in his wake, Subaru was willing to go with him to surrender in order to save everyone else. But at that point, it's made very clear by Otto that that's no longer an option. And maybe, I don't know, maybe Garfield can't control that form or something. But either way, Otto pushes Subaru out of the way just in time and gets sliced in half by Garfield's claws, killing him pretty much instantly. Garfield then continues to attack, killing a bunch of the villagers as well as Patrash. Um, Before Subaru is just suddenly teleported away. He doesn't actually get killed by Garfield. He's teleported away to this what looks like the sanctuary, but it's covered in snow. No one is around. And he finds some carnivorous demon maybeast snow bunnies that end up devouring him. Because why the fuck not? It's just it seems kind of random, but I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it's important for one reason or another. But he does die there, comes back into the same place, but he's also called back to the Witch's Tea Party, meeting once again with the Witch of Greed, Echidna. And he finally gets to say the words he's wanted to tell someone pretty much the entire time he's been here. He finally gets to say that he can return by death. And he breaks because of it, because of all the catharsis of finally being able to say it, of finally being able to tell someone. And it's got to be because of her being a witch. Like, that's the only thing I could think of. But she even agrees to his request to remove the memory wipe so that he'll remember her when he goes back into his world, you could say. And it's just, I don't know what to think of her. And I want to talk about that here. So, Echidna comes across in a very confusing way. Because here's the thing, I've heard her referred to as a villain. I think she was even referred to as such in the Crunchyroll Anime Awards. But she hasn't come across as a villain so far, at least. Like, pretty much at all. I wouldn't say she comes across as like this great hero or this amazing, like heroic good person, but she comes across as excessively neutral, as like insanely self-sided. Like she does whatever she wants, whatever's best for her. She's not good, she's not bad, she just does whatever benefits her at the time. In the current case, that would be helping Subaru and connecting with him. And she does honestly seem to be getting flustered around him more. So maybe she might have a thing for him. It's possible. um, but yeah, it's like she very much seems very self-serving, which makes sense for greed. And I have to make the comparison here. It's very much reminiscent as well in that way of Greed from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Because in Brotherhood, Greed is shown as being very self-serving until the end of the series, where he ends up choosing to fight and die for the sake of others, for the sake of the friends he's made, most notably Ling. But Greed is shown to not really be evil per se throughout the series. He's just kind of self-serving. He does his own thing, whatever benefits him and his desires, his greed. And so it's very much reminiscent of that. I definitely feel that's kind of how it is with her, except Greed from Brotherhood is a lot more aggressive with his greed and his desires, and while she seems to be more in the background. Though that might be because of her entire situation. Maybe she can't be more aggressive in all of that. I don't know. But that's yeah, I definitely don't see her as a villain by any means. And that might change. But yeah, it's just I don't see her that way. I don't know. But it was also brought up in the episode, like the idea of like whether or not Roswell is an enemy and him claiming he's not. And again, same kind of thing. I don't think he's an enemy either. I don't think he's a bad guy either. He's just kind of an asshole. That's the best way to put it. He's just kind of an asshole. And it's like he's still on Subaru's side for sure. So far, like outside of like the Maybeasts and the witch cultists and all, I wouldn't say we've had a villain this season. Well, okay, Elsa. Never mind. I don't know how I almost forgot about Elsa. Um, but I feel like we don't see enough of Elsa at the same time. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying in my pre thoughts about like it focusing a lot more on the stuff in the sanctuary. And I saw someone on Twitter recently, I think no, I'm not sure who it was. But I saw someone on Twitter recently say something about how the sanctuary arc of ReZero is like the hardest to sit through. And I'm not sure if I totally agree with that yet, but it's definitely proven to be a little annoying to sit through, at least, just because of the sanctuary stuff, honestly. And again, if they showed another the second trial or just continued on with the trials in general, hell, showed Amelia's trial, like that stuff would be great. I would be good with seeing that, but right now the stuff they're actually showing it's not that interesting. Even with Garfield and everything, even with the stuff we've had with um, Roswell and the possibilities of stuff with this other girl whose name I can never remember, um, it just doesn't do enough to make it interesting. While on the other hand, the stuff at the mansion during this arc is excessively interesting. And honestly, to put it simply, the stuff at the mansion is what I want from ReZero. Exciting and interesting action, a crazy ass bad guy, and all kinds of just wild lore shit going on that expands things in a really great way. And the problem is, we're not really getting any of that with the Sanctuary. It's boring by comparison. And again, I'm not saying it's bad, because it's not. It's just nowhere near as good. But overall, I am still enjoying the series. It's just I wish it would focus more on the stuff with Beatrice and Elsa and whatnot. It's just I guess it's just personal preference for what I want to see with the series. Because that was always the best parts of the first season too, without question. Even on rewatching it semi recently, um, that those were always my favorite parts. Hell, the stuff in the first two episodes with Elsa was exceptionally exciting. Hell, I wish Elsa was honestly more of a reoccurring villain rather than just appearing in the first two episodes and then disappearing until season two. Honestly, She's one of the most interesting characters in this series by far, and not just because of the tits. She's legitimately interesting. I want to know more about her, who she's serving, because we do know she is still serving someone. It's like I want to know all this information about her. She interests me a lot more, a shit ton more than anything with Garfield, honestly. Um, but again, maybe that's just me. Um, Garfield's beast form, kind of what I expected, but also not. Like it's a big cat, a tiger, which is fitting with what we saw from Frederica, but it's also humanoid, sort of. Like it has a very like humanoid muscular structure, and it seems like it's almost like a mixed, fitting enough, a mixed human animal hybrid. But that's also kind of weird because Frederica's wasn't. Hers was just an animal. But she's less animal than he is in terms of their percentages. Garfield is actually like half and half, while she is only a quarter beast. We know this. This has been blatantly said. So it's like, that makes no sense, really. Right? I'm not crazy here, right? That makes no sense. If he's more of a full, well, more of a half breed than she is, wouldn't his beast form be more animal than humanoid? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But we can see how powerful he is, and I mentioned the entire idea that maybe he's not in control when he's in that form, like he kind of loses control, and it's unclear. That could very much be the case, but we honestly don't know. But he seems excessively powerful to the point where it's like, even if Otto, Subaru, and Patrash hadn't stopped, he might have still been able to catch up with them before they got to the border. It's really just hard to say. But yeah, I'm just wondering why the stones seem to teleport Subaru. I don't know, like through time or something. 'Cause with the sanctuary empty and everything, and the snow and the evil demon Maybeast bunnies, it's just like there's a lot of questions with that too. This episode was definitely interesting and definitely gave us some good moments. I just wish, again, that it would have actually focused more on the mansion stuff. But we did get big information for all of that. So hopefully within the next couple episodes, we will return there and we'll get answers from Beatrice. That would be my hope. But that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. Tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of ReZero Season 2, and thank you so much for watching. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.